I'm Lisa Cylinder.
I'm Scott Cylinder.
We are jewelry artists, and we met as students at Tyler School of Art in Philadelphia 35 years ago.
1984?
Yeah.
Almost 36.
I started out making simple jewelry that we felt we could bring to market.
And I would say about 2 years in, we started to incorporate found objects, and that took the form of game parts. We started harvesting old Monopoly sets, dice, dominoes.
These are actually checkers that have been turned into these tulips.
Made in Maine.
Made in Maine, checkers. And then these little, like a domino, so this little bird has a little wiggly tail, but it's a wooden domino.
And so we really were drawn to those kind of 20th century objects that also were starting to disappear, because that was when the internet started to come in and eBay took over.
And we're like in our 30s, and we're thinking about, playing games with our children, and the idea of the tactileness of a game and remembering playing those games. So it's sort of a remembrance of the way things were. And I'm thinking about being at my grandmother's house and opening a drawer that was a junk drawer and just looking at all of the particular things that were in that junk drawer that don't really survive today. And the delightful part is when we make something and take it to market, and there's a woman who will come in and just be in tears over something like, I played that game with my sister during summer camp one year, and I'm buying these and I'm sending them to her in England. And we're like, super duper.
It's like going to a museum, but being able to say, oh, I'll take that one home with me. I think our work has a high entertainment value. One of our cheeky bylines is we're making 20th century objects in the 21st century. And we're kind of embracing our training and the history of what we were taught about art and craft.
In a romantic, kind of quirky way, which is kind of what we are.
Tongue-in-cheek, I think. And it's self-aware that we are kind of preserving these things for the future in a strange way.
We have different series of pieces. Most recently, we've been working with pieces that incorporate recycled musical instrument parts, and I will say that none of the pieces that we use have harmed an instrument, so no instruments have been harmed in the making of any of these pieces. We recycle from luthiers, from music shops. This piece we made this summer. We saw a glossy ibis at Morse Mountain Preserve, and we were very excited, and we knew that we had a shape that looked like an ibis. And it is a chin rest from
viola or a cello.
Yeah, and so what we've done is we've carved it and changed it and made it into a brooch. And this big boy is something that we made right as the pandemic began. We said, okay, here we go. These are all different size tuning pegs from cello, full size, half size, viola, violin. And we thought, okay, we're going to make something that reminds us of an Egyptian neck piece or some sort of tribal neck piece. So what we've done is we've carved each one, and they all move. They're all tapped and dyed together, augmented with mica powder embedded paints, glass eyes, sterling silver. And what we're trying to do here is mimic an ancient time with more modern techniques.
We're using jewelry skills to make really non-traditional jewelry, very sculptural, odd creations that still land in the realm of jewelry because they're wearable.
Bam.
And so we just started collecting stuff that appealed to us, and we started collecting other stuff, and we didn't quite understand why, and we had it all cataloged and put away. That came out a few years later.
Right.
collecting old American-made drafting tools. Smallest ones we could find, little dividers and compasses, and we didn't know what we were going to do with them.
This is pencils for the center of this beetle. The legs are all erasers, and then this is a working caliper, so that we were relating pencil to tool in this way. What we're doing is we're pining for a day that was the 20th century idea of, the drafting tools, the post-war boom. All of these tools that were part of our original learning are no longer really part of learning. I mean, the computer has taken over. I mean, rulers, pencils, these kinds of things don't really play a part in our children's lives. They use something on a computer. When we came into the business, it was very slow to start, but once it took off, we had 3 sales reps. We were making 350 pieces of jewelry every 2 weeks and shipping. Also, at this time, having 2 very young children, and we were passing children back and forth, but it got to the point where we were working too many hours and not paying enough attention to the things that were important to us. And I think we both felt that at that point, that's when we had to cut back and say, we need to save our soul.
We sensed some burnout. In the dumbest capitalist way, we cut the business back by restricting how much we would make to give us time to branch out and start making art jewelry, bigger pieces and small sculptures and things that we really were trained in art school to do, and still make enough money through the product to allow us to pay our bills and have our life and still give ourselves maybe 15 or 20 hours a week to play.
Sometimes when people aren't exposed to art and people aren't able to go out and at least go into a show and meet someone and talk to someone about art, they don't understand it. And I think part of our job is not just making the work, but it's also to be able to bring something and have someone say, what is this about? And then spend time talking about, well, this is this and whatever, and we put it together this way, and then watching their face, and this, then all of a sudden they're on to the next piece, what is this? And I do spend an awful lot of time talking in the booth, but it's worth it because people go away and they are uplifted and their curiosity is piqued, and they're not going to just walk by something again. They're going to look at it a little closer. How do we, create curiosity for people? And
Right.
I think part of our curiosity is watching to see how they go out into the world and how they breathe when someone looks at them, because we do create in this vacuum, and we think it's terrific. But going out, sometimes people are like, that's just a little bit too far for me to leap. But, when it happens and it's a miracle and then someone buys it, that's the best part.
Our philosophy has always been that we choose and use the objects that talk to us, knowing that they'll connect with someone else.
And we hide things in the pieces too, so that sometimes you're looking at it and you're like, I don't understand what this is, but if you turn it over and you interact with it, it's almost like a secret, and to a lot of folks that is incredibly magical. There's something intuitive for people to be like, oh, this is just like my little secret. I'm going to keep this, and I identify with this artist, and I think there's a real magic about that. All of the things that are parts of these wonderful objects are going away. The awareness, like that object meant something to somebody in such a specific way, that kind of human contact is really, I think, what it's all about. We made this from the ground up, and we clawed and scratched our way to where we are today. But we're,
Still clawing and scratching.
still clawing and scratching. But it's, we own it. We are it. It is us. And that is, I think, what life's all about.